It's that time, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I told you a week ago I'm going to be having a mock draft coming. Today's the day. Today, this is my final mock draft for the upcoming 2020 NBA draft. Let's get right into it. Please like and subscribe, too. I would appreciate that. I feel like I've been putting out pretty good videos lately, so let's show the kids some love. The first pick in the 2020 NBA mock draft, James Wiseman from Memphis. Wiseman has an incredibly high floor, I think, more than anything. It makes him the most intriguing prospect and overall the number one prospect. I don't think the Minnesota Timberwolves make this selection. However, if Minnesota keeps this pick, I do not think they go with Wiseman simply based off of the connection with Karl-Anthony Towns. I don't think it's a good combo there as a big man. However, I think Wiseman is a player with a high upside and an even higher floor. The only problem with him is his ability to shoot the ball right now. He seemed to chuck up a lot of shots in Memphis, kind of contested from pretty deep range, and it just didn't shoot with good efficiency. So if he can become more efficient from three-point range, I think he's going to be an all-star in the NBA. The number 2 pick in the NBA draft is going to be LaMelo Ball, who played overseas. Now you all know who LaMelo Ball is, obviously. The thing I like most about him is immediate ability to come into an NBA team and create and be a very good above-average playmaker immediately, just like his brother Alonzo. However, I don't know about his shot selection. I mean, you know famously about LaMelo Ball's shot selection, and a lot of teams, too, wonder if that's going to translate into the NBA. I also believe the Golden State Warriors are going to trade this pick. If Golden State keeps this pick, I believe that James Wiseman is their only option that they genuinely would like. If the James Wiseman would be the number 1 pick and the Warriors are still holding on to number 2, I think they would take Deni Avdija from Israel. The number 3 pick, the Charlotte Hornets select Anthony Edwards from Georgia. Now, I think personally Anthony Edwards has a very high ceiling. I see him as being as good as Donovan Mitchell, but also his floor could see him as a good scorer off the bench, which still is any team would love to have. I think Anthony Edwards is a really good fit here in Charlotte, too. I've said it from the start. I think the Charlotte Hornets are going to walk away draft night with Anthony Edwards, regardless of how they have to get there. I love the fit, and I think it's going to be an exciting team offensively for the next couple of years with Devontae Graham and Anthony Edwards. The number 4 pick in the draft, the Chicago Bulls select Deni Avdija from Israel that played in Maccabi Tel Aviv this past season. Now, I am a very big fan of Deni. I think he has an ability to be one of the better players in this draft in a couple of years. My thing with him is he will create immediate playmaking on any team. I think he's going to be a good player immediately, but I don't see his ceiling as high as others previously drafted before him. I think defensively he's a good ball player, however, and I think that if he can be more consistent with his free throw shooting and just outside shooting in general, he's going to be a very good player in the NBA. Here comes the first interesting move of the 2020 NBA draft. With the number 5 pick, the Cleveland Cavaliers will select Obi Toppin from Dayton or Onyeka Okongwu from USC. Now, to move this video along a little bit more smoothly, I will just assume that they take Obi Toppin with the number 5 pick. The Cleveland Cavaliers have showed interest in Obi Toppin. I think it's a very good fit as well. I think he's a very good player, and I think he can produce basically immediately too. However, I don't think his ceiling is very high, but I think his floor is very, very, very high. I think he is going to be one of the safer picks in the 2020 NBA draft. With the number 6th pick in the 2020 draft, the Atlanta Hawks will trade the number 6th pick. I promise you. Now, there are 2 teams they can make this trade to. They will either trade this pick to the Boston Celtics, which I believe is a very strong possibility. Now, whether or not the Celtics trade a bunch of their first rounders that they have, or a couple proven players or something. So, if the Boston Celtics select with the number 6th pick, I think they will take Onyeka Okongwu if he's available. However, if the Jrue Holiday stuff is true about wanting to get moved and everything, I think the Atlanta Hawks are a serious contender in landing Jrue Holiday, in which they will have to deal the number 6th pick. And I believe they will do the exact same thing and take Onyeka Okongwu from USA. From the Atlanta Hawks standpoint, I think I understand it. You need a good combo guard who can play defensively and also can make a little bit next to Trae Young. Now, I think maybe the timelines don't necessarily fit, but with the way Trae Young wants to egg on Atlanta to win now, I think it makes a lot of sense, and I could see Drew Holiday being shipped for the number 6 pick and something else, or vice versa. You'll have to see how it goes down, but I can see it happening. With the number 7th pick, the Detroit Pistons will select Patrick Williams. Now, personally, I think this is the best fit. I think this is the easiest thing that I've had up until this point. Patrick Williams is a good ball player. He can really play the 3 well, even the 4, and I think for Detroit right now, they need something like that. Maybe you can move him next to Sekou Doumbouya and create a very athletic, possibly a good shooting forward positions there with the two of them for the next couple of years. The Detroit Pistons are in trouble, guys, and I think this is a pretty good upside pick that they can make. The number 8th pick, the New York Knicks will select Killian Hayes, who played internationally over in France this past year. Now, Hayes may have one of the highest upsides in this entire draft. Kevin O'Connor has him as number 1 player on his draft board, which is seriously something to say and to note because Kevin O'Connor is a very, very intelligent draft scouter, basically. I love Killian Hayes. I think he's a great playmaker. He shows serious offensive fundamentals that I don't think a single player in this draft has anything to his extent. He has James Harden-esque step backs, and he's a lefty, which means I think he's going to be a naturally good shooter. However, his problems right now have to do with efficiency and turnovers. He's a very, not lazy at times, but he gets a little sloppy with the way he dribbles the ball, the way he handles the offense sometimes, and his shot selection sometimes maybe isn't the greatest. However, I think he runs the floor extremely well. I think he understands the pace of basketball, and those two things you can't really teach very much in the NBA. So I think Killian Hayes is a fantastic pick for the New York Knicks here at number 8. For the number 9th pick, the Washington Wizards will select Isaac Okoro from Auburn. Now, Okoro is an interesting prospect. I think he has a very high floor as well. I think he's going to step in and immediately become a very good perimeter defender. I think he's going to be one of the better defenders, if not the best defender in this draft. I think he's very good. I think he can play the 3 very well, and I think he can guard probably 4 positions well. However, the questions with him are his offense. Will he be able to shoot 3s consistently in the NBA? Will he be able to at least score when open in the NBA? We'll have to see about that. But I think it's a good pick at number 9 for the Washington Wizards, who need some help, Troy Brown, okay, all right, but they don't really have a 3 or 4 that they can genuinely rely on, and I think Okoro can play the 3 and the 2 behind Bradley Beal or behind John Wall when either of them are off the court, and step in and produce pretty well. With the number 10th pick, the Phoenix Suns will select Tyrese Halliburton from Iowa State. Halliburton is an interesting prospect for me. I could see him going as high as 6, but I could also see him falling down to 12 for me. I don't think he goes any further past 12, but I think he's a good ball player. I think Tyrese Halliburton is another player who can come in this year and play well for a good team. I think he can play well. I think his basketball IQ is elite. I think he makes the best decisions on the court every single time down. I think he plays good defense, and I think he's a very good playmaker with very good size for where he's going to play. However, I don't think his ceiling is incredibly high, but I think he's a player who you can genuinely rely on and can get good, value with picking him. The number 11th pick, the San Antonio Spurs will select Aaron Nesmith from Vanderbilt. Nesmith, to me, is one of my favorite prospects. I think he's going to be very, very good. I think he's very underrated because of the lack of play he had last season after getting hurt so early on in the season. But I think Nesmith is the best shooter in this draft, the best spot-up shooter in this draft. And I also think he has serious 3-and-D potential. I think the San Antonio Spurs will get the best out of him, and I think he's going to be a very good fit alongside their defensive backcourt duo of Derek White and DeJounte Murray. And I'm very excited about the future for the San Antonio Spurs with Aaron Nesmith in the starting lineup. With the number 12th pick in the NBA draft, the Sacramento Kings will select Devin Vassell from Florida State. Now, Vassell or Vassell, whatever it is a very, very, very good 3-and-D prospect. I think he's probably the most reliable in this draft. And I believe the Sacramento Kings will find a way to trade Buddy Hield. Now, if it's going to be on draft night or after draft night, and I think Devin Vassell is going to be his replacement. I think he's a very good replacement. I think he is a very elite three-point shooter. I think he's a great defender, and I think he's going to be able to fit alongside De'Aaron Fox, Bogdanovich, and hopefully Al Horford down the line. And I think it's going to be a very nice fit for the Sacramento Kings. The number 13th pick, the New Orleans Pelicans, will select Kyra Lewis Jr. from Alabama. Lewis Jr. is one of the best offensive players in this draft. I think he is unbelievably good in transition. He's quick. He's a good shooter. And I think for most people would say Kyra Lewis at 13 is a little high, but I think it's a very, very good fit alongside Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, and I think Kyra Lewis could make a very good player for the New Orleans Pelicans. However, defensively, he may not be the best. I think he's going to get cooked often, especially early on in the NBA, but I think Kyra Lewis has an extremely high upside, and I think he has the potential to be a pretty great pick at 13. With the 14th pick in the draft, the Boston Celtics select Jalen Smith from Maryland. Now, if Boston stays here at 14 and doesn't trade up for the 6th pick, I believe that the Boston Celtics need one thing. They want a big man. I think Jalen Smith at 6'10 from Maryland shows incredible upside when it comes to shooting, outside touch, just ability with the basketball in his hands as well. And I think that's the perfect switch, versatile defender type of athletic big that the Boston Celtics and Danny Ainge just adore. So I think it's a perfect fit here at 14 for Boston. With the number 15th pick in the draft, the Orlando Magic will select R.J. Hampton, who played in New Zealand this past year. Now, I had originally Kyra Lewis here at 15 because I think that's a great fit, but thinking about it, I just don't see Kyra Lewis genuinely falling down to 15. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he goes into the 20s, where a lot of mock drafts I see have him. However, I think R.J. Hampton is probably the best guard on the board right now. And I think, obviously, Orlando needs a guard. They need offense. I think R.J. Hampton can provide that. I think his upside is very, very, very legit. He was one of the biggest high school prospects, and he just kind of hasn't really shown up like LaMelo Ball has overseas this past year. And, he just hasn't gotten that fame and notoriety that he needed. However, I think R.J. Hampton has a very good upside. Like I said, I think he's going to be a good offensive guard. He's going to be a good combo guard. Maybe him and Markelle Fultz can actually show some genuine upside next year for the Orlando Magic. Number 16th pick in the 2020 draft, the Portland Trail Blazers will select Saddiq Bey from Villanova. Now, my man Saddiq Bey is a baller. He is strong. The dude is a strong cat, and at the same time, he can shoot the three ball with serious proficiency, which is awesome. I think the Blazers need somebody who can play the three and guard and score off ball. Saddiq Bey perfectly fits that mold for him. I think he's a good ball player, and I think he has the potential to just carve out a really nice role in the NBA for a long time. With the number 17th pick, the Minnesota Timberwolves will select Josh Green from Arizona. Now, I'm also a big fan of Josh Green as well. I think he is a very good 3-and-D prospect. I think he immediately produces defensively, without a doubt. I think he is a very, very good above-average defender, and I think he's going to be a very good defender immediately in the NBA. However, the question is, how consistent can he be offensively? And I personally think he has potential. It's there. Now, the question holds whether or not he can be consistent with it and be efficient with it, and that is what's going to be able to tell if Josh Green can just be a Tony Allen type of player or literally carve out a role to be a productive 3-and-D player for a pretty long time in the NBA. The 18th pick, the Dallas Mavericks will select Tyrell Terry from Stanford. Now, as a Sixers fan, this hurts me because I wish and I hope and I pray that the Philadelphia 76ers can have their hands on Tyrell Terry at 21 or even trade up at 18 and pick him. However, as an unbiased NBA fan, I think this is an undeniable perfect match for the Dallas Mavericks. Tyrell Terry might possibly be the best shooter in this draft. He has the potential to be the best shooter in this draft. He is an unbelievable shooter. You can put him at the 1 behind Jalen Brunson, maybe even start him eventually, and have Luka run his offense and pass it and dish it to Tyrell Terry when open, and he will knock that down every time. Now, defensively, he's not there, but you don't need him to be there when he's going to be such a knockdown shooter from 3 for a long time in this league. This draft has a lot of very good future role players, a lot of them, and it's very exciting. With the 19th pick in the 2020 draft, the Brooklyn Nets will select Precious Achiuwa from Memphis. I hope I said that one right. Now, PA, I'm going to call him, has very high upside. He's 6'9", he's a 4 from Memphis who shows unreal athleticism. And I think his athleticism alone is something to bet on in this NBA draft. And at 19, I think you can find very good value with selecting him. Now we're going to have to wait and see if we can see him develop into a player who has multiple skills outside of just athleticism, but I think it's a pretty high upside pick at 19 here for Brooklyn. With the 20th pick in the 2020 draft, the Miami Heat will select Tyrese Maxey from Kentucky. Maxey struggled with a shot there at Kentucky this past season. However, he's a very, very athletic guard who is a scorer at heart. I genuinely believe he can come in, especially with a consistent shot, and become a very good NBA player. An above-average NBA player, probably. I think you bet on his athleticism, and I think you bet on his ability to get to the rim here at the 20th pick. With the 21st pick in the 2020 draft, the Philadelphia 76ers, my Philadelphia 76ers, select Desmond Bane from TCU. Now, Bane is an unbelievable shooter. This draft has a lot of them. You could probably catch on by now. Bane is also going to be a type of player who can produce immediately for the Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers need shooting. There's no surprise by that. Surround Ben Simmons with as much shooting as you possibly can. Here, Bane, if available, I think is a no-doubt selection for the Philadelphia 76ers. With the 22nd pick in the 2020 draft, the Denver Nuggets select Jaden McDaniels from Washington. The 6'10 forward from Washington, McDaniels, showed this past season his ability to stretch the floor as a shooter. He's a very good shooter, and especially at 6'10, he is athletic, he can dribble, he can score on ball, off ball, however you want it. I think he's a fantastic fit with Nikola Jokic at the 5. It's rare to see players at 6'10 move like the way McDaniels can move. However, his problem is also with efficiency. He did not show good efficiency this past season. So, if he can become more efficient with the way he plays the game, I think he's going to be a good player. I think he will carve his role out into a good NBA player. I also believe if McDaniels can reach his potential, he has all-star ability. I think he's a very good player and a very nice pick here. And if any team can develop a player like McDaniels, I think the Denver Nuggets are the perfect team that can do that. With the 23rd pick in the 2020 draft, the Utah Jazz select Vernon Carey, big man from Duke. Now, if it was 1999, Vernon Carey would be a top 3 pick. He's talented, but he doesn't play modern NBA basketball anymore. However, I think the Utah Jazz like players like this to this day. I think Vernon Carey still has an ability to be a good player in the NBA, but his ceiling is very low due to the fact that he cannot stretch the floor, his lack of athleticism, but don't get me wrong, he is a very good interior scorer. He can provide very good rebounding and post-up scoring when needed, especially off the bench. I think he's going to be an okay player, but I think he has an ability to be like Jahlil Okafor and just completely fizzle out in the NBA. With the 24th pick in the draft, the Milwaukee Bucks will select Cole Anthony, point guard from UNC. Cole Anthony is a good ball player. I think he has a pretty good upside. I think he is a good playmaker, and I think if he can become a little bit better of an efficient scorer in the NBA, I think he could be a good ball player. I think Milwaukee needs a point guard as well. I am not an Eric Bledsoe fan. I think he's proven time and time again that he just doesn't work in the playoffs, especially if Giannis does not come back to Milwaukee. I think Cole Anthony has a relatively good upside that you can maybe decide to work in the long run instead. I don't love Cole Anthony as a prospect, but I think he's a good pick here at 24 for Milwaukee. With the 25th pick in the NBA draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder, if they still have this pick, will select Aleksej Pokusevski from Serbia. Now, my man AP here, because I'm not saying his name again, is probably the biggest boomer bust potential I have seen in a prospect in the last couple of years. He is 7 feet tall, that shoots threes, and plays like a guard. Now, that is a tough combo to find. And when you find that combo, you take a shot on it. I think the Oklahoma City Thunder takes that shot because they're entering a rebuild, or so they say. And I think that they fit a timeline, and he has an ability to blossom into a Kristaps Porzingis type of player, especially this late in the draft. I think it's a beautiful pick here for Oklahoma City. And I genuinely do hope that AP can be a good player and not just fizzle out like every other late 20s big man European you see get selected. The 26th pick in the draft, the Boston Celtics, if they still have this pick, select Theo Maledon from France. Now, Maledon is a very good playmaker. He has a high ceiling, I would say, but also not the highest of floors. I think the Boston Celtics genuinely need a backup point guard, and I think he could produce relatively well off of the bench immediately. I think it's a very good fit for him. He has a very quick first step. He has great size. He has great length. He's physically gifted. And I think given this situation where he's not going to be handed the keys maybe immediately, I think is a perfect situation for him to blossom into a very good role player for a long time and possibly something even better. With the 27th pick, the New York Knicks select Jahmi'us Ramsey. I hope I said his name right too. From Texas Tech. Now Ramsey is not the highest of upside nor the lowest of floor players. I think I have him a little higher than other people do, but my thing with him is he brings an intense amount of energy every single play. Not a lot of players really genuinely bring that nowadays, and I think that's hard to find. He plays offense and defense every single possession. He's a good ball player. I think he's going to play the passing lanes very well defensively, and I think he can score a little bit, off the bench for a team. I think he is a warrior of an NBA player or a prospect, and I believe he's going to be the same in the NBA. I think it's a pretty good pick here for New York, and I would like to see where he becomes as a player in the NBA. With the 28th pick in the 2020 draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Nico Mannion from Arizona. Now, I tossed and turned over this pick for the past week, probably because I believe the Los Angeles Lakers need a point guard. I don't know if Rondo is going to come back. I think he will, but, you still don't know. But I still think what could benefit LA the most is a stretch four player. I had them taking Tyler Bay from Colorado as an athletic four guy who can shoot a little bit. But I switched it up. I have Nico Mannion here because, one, I think he has the highest upside from players remaining. And two, I think he's a good backup playmaking point guard for a team. Now, whether or not he can do that on a team like the Los Angeles Lakers, it's a difficult question to ask. And I may not really love the fit here either. But I took a shot in the dark. Mannion, 28. With the 29th pick in the 2020 draft, the Toronto Raptors select Zeke Nnaji by Arizona. Back-to-back Arizona picks here, but I like Nnaji. And now for a couple of reasons, I like him because I think, A, the Toronto Raptors will not bring back Serge Ibaka. I don't think he's going to re-sign. And I think time will tell to see if, they bring back Chris Boucher as well. So they're going to need big man help, especially if Marc Gasol doesn't come back. I'm a big fan of this guy. He's a 6'10", 4/5 with a 7'3" wingspan. He has unbelievable mobility. He's a good scorer. He has a really nice touch around the basket. He is quick. He can blow by defenders with decent dribbling as a big guy, and he shoots the ball well. He has an ability to stretch the floor out for Toronto. I genuinely believe he could become a valuable piece, a valuable starter, 6th, 7th man for the Toronto Raptors in a couple of years, if not next year after this year. I think he's a good player. I think he has great upside, and I think it's an awesome pick here for the Toronto Raptors because they do a great job selecting international guys late in the draft. The 30th and final pick of the first round in the 2020 draft, the Boston Celtics select, if they still have this pick, Tyler Bay from Colorado. Now, Tyler Bay, is a 3 or 4. He has a 7'2" wingspan, but he's 6'7". So, he's not the tallest of guys, but he has some good length. He's a big-time athlete. This kid is a very athletic 3-4 type of player. I think he rebounds well for his position. He defends very well, and I think he runs the floor in transition as good as anyone. The problem with him is he's not offensively consistent, but I think he's the type of player that Danny Ainge adores, and especially if he is available here at 30, and the Boston Celtics still have their pick, he is that versatile defender, combo forward that Danny Ainge is proven to take every single time he can. Look at Jaylen Brown getting picked 3rd, Jason Tatum getting picked 3rd. He took chances on people that you don't even remember, like James Young. He takes combo players, and I think the way that he would see Tyler Bay here would be a steal at the 30th pick in the NBA draft.